If you hear the tapping at midnight, whatever you do, don't open the basement door. Amy had always loved the old Victorian house she inherited from her grandmother. The creaky floors and antique fixtures gave it character, though the basement door, painted a deep, peeling black, felt out of place. Her grandmother's one rule echoed in her mind every time she passed it: don't open the basement door at night, no matter what you hear. At first, Amy dismissed it as a quirky superstition. But her first night alone in the house, she heard a faint tapping sound, like fingernails lightly drumming on wood. She froze in her bed. The sound came from downstairs, from the direction of the basement. She grabbed her phone and turned on the flashlight, cautiously stepping out of her room. The hallway stretched dark and quiet, the old house groaning softly. As she descended the stairs, the tapping grew louder, rhythmic, and deliberate. When she reached the bottom, she stopped, staring at the basement door. The tapping ceased abruptly. She shook her head and turned away. But as she did, the doorknob rattled ever so slightly. Amy's heart raced. Her grandmother's warning burned in her memory, but curiosity gnawed at her. She crouched, pressing her ear to the door. Amy, a whisper, her own name. She stumbled back, clutching her chest. That wasn't possible. It must have been her imagination. Shaking, she went back to bed, but sleep wouldn't come. The next morning, she decided to investigate. In daylight, the basement felt less threatening. Armed with a flashlight, she unlocked the door and descended the narrow stairs. At the bottom, she found an old trunk. Dusty and worn, it seemed untouched for decades. She opened it and found old photographs, letters, and a small leather journal. The journal belonged to her grandmother, filled with entries about a dark entity that lurked beneath the house. "It feeds on curiosity," one entry read. Another warned, "It mimics the voices of those you love. If you answer, it will take you." Amy's stomach churned as she read the final entry. "It came from my sister. I couldn't save her. I only hope my warnings will protect you." That night, the tapping returned, louder this time. And then she heard it, her grandmother's voice. "Amy, please, let me out. It's so dark in here." Tears streamed down Amy's face. It sounded so real, so desperate. But she clenched her fists, forcing herself to remember the journal's warnings. "Please, Amy, don't leave me." She turned away from the door, retreating upstairs. The whispers turned to shrieks, then stopped suddenly. The next morning, she burned the journal and nailed the basement door shut. The tapping never returned. Years later, when she sold the house, she left one instruction for the new owners. If you hear tapping at midnight, whatever you do, don't open the basement door. What do you think was really behind the door? Would you have been able to resist opening it if it called out to you? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe for more chilling tales every week. And remember, not every knock deserves an answer.